Greetings, Bel Air staff, and welcome to our Flip Staff meeting for February 2017. Our agenda for today covers regulations, the CSA email that I sent out to grade level chairs, SOL remediation, some dates for us to remember, a little information about our March 14th staff meeting, and also the embedded professional development for today's staff meeting. We will be reviewing three regulations. The first will be 746-1, which is disruptive student behavior. Regulation 542.02-1, which refers to our sick leave. And then 542.05-1, which refers to personal leave. Our first regulation is in regards to disruptive student behavior, the use of physical restraint, and seclusion. So this regulation is 7 pages in length with 3 attachments for teachers to complete if need be. Now, mind you, this regulation pretty much can refer to students that are in our self-contained ED classroom. However, I need to make sure that all of us are informed of this regulation and then just know our limits, the definitions, criteria, and some of the interventions that we may need to put in place for a student. So within disruptive student behavior, in your mailboxes, you will receive a copy of this regulation. There's several definitions within this regulation. The first one talks about physical intervention, and it just means that you use any reasonable or necessary physical contact by school personnel to maintain any order or control, to quell a disturbance, to protect a student from themselves or from others from the risk of any type of physical injury, to prevent damage to property, or to obtain the possession of any kind of weapons, dangerous objects, and paraphernalia. According to our school board policy 741 and regulation 741-1, which refers to corporal punishment, it states that no teacher or school employees may use corporal punishment. So there is no infliction of or causing the infliction of any type of physical pain on a student as any means of discipline. Physical restraint means using a physical method to restrict any individual's freedom of movement. So we are familiar with handle with care. So this prevents a student from moving his or her body to engage in a behavior that places him or her or others at the risk of physical harm. So we always think about, could the student cause harm to himself, or is he causing harm to himself, his or herself, or are we preventing them from causing harm to others or damaging property? So there the staff and personnel, the personnel that can handle students in this particular manner has to be trained with handle with care. So if that's something that you're interested in regards to the training, please feel free to let me know via email and I will consider approving that, professional development. Now within this criteria, within this regulation, there is a criteria about physical intervention, physical restraint, or seclusion. So seclusion means the confinement of a student alone in a room for which the student is physically prevented from leaving. And then there's timeout, means assisting a student to regain the control by removing them from his or her immediate environment to an open location until they are calm or the behavior can be subsided. All of these should only be used under circumstances which create emergency situations when other less intrusive alternatives are not possible or they have failed. So once again, the whole corporal punishment, we are not allowed to do so. Abusive techniques are not authorized permitted or condoned in our schools, and they are expressly prohibited using Virginia Code and the school board policy, as well as our regulation on corporal punishment. All of this information can be found within this regulation. Now, when we talk about appropriate interventions, there are appropriate interventions that we could put in place. So, once again, the timeout. Timeout is the removal from the learning environment and a less restrictive. It is a less restrictive intervention. So, it's for managing any type of disruptive, aggressive, or violent student behavior. So, the purpose is to assist the student, help them regain the control by removing them from their immediate environment into a different location until they're calm or the behavior has subsided. So, one, timeout may include timeout in the classroom. Two, it can be an area of the classroom. Or three, an area outside of the classroom, such as the principal's office, or we would even consider like Mr. Hicks' office as well. Before you utilize timeout, though, staff, it says within the regulation, use less restrictive measures to assist the child in regaining control or correcting his or her behavior. When there's a student that's removed to a separate location in which no other persons are present, each timeout intervention should be of short duration. Excuse me, and they should be developmentally appropriate. So pretty much should not exceed 10 minutes. Students should be observed and continuously monitored by at least one adult staff member in a timeout area. At the end of the timeout intervention, the staff will work with the student to develop a plan for returning to the learning environment. So this is where we would possibly, if it's a continual type of behavior, we would come to our intervention team, conduct a functional behavioral assessment, and then a behavioral intervention plan. And if a student already has that in place, then we as an intervention team need to review and revise the plan. Anytime there's a timeout, we need to complete a timeout sheet. And like I said, previously, there are three attachments, and one of the attachment is the timeout log sheet. And so that information needs to be completed. Any timeouts need to be immediately reported to the principal and also immediately reported to the parents. Now, with physical intervention, this is a more restrictive method of managing disruptive, aggressive, or violent student behavior in emergency situations. So, this is when we give imminent risk to self or others, or imminent risk of property destruction, or disruption to the educational process or school operations. Our staff may use physical intervention as an appropriate response. Once again, staff trained in approved physical intervention techniques are the ones to minimize the potential injury to the students and to our staff. Following physical intervention, once again, the staff should speak with the student and require any type of use of intervention and request that the student assist in the development of a plan to help prevent any future occurrences of the behavior. Same goes for same goes for physical intervention. We may need to go ahead and develop or conduct, a functional behavior assessment and then create a behavioral intervention plan. And if the student already has one in place, then the intervention team may need to review and revise the plan. Another appropriate intervention is the use of a quiet room, which is seclusion. So this is for, this particular intervention, we do not have a quiet room here at Bel Air. However, I need to make sure that I review this entire regulation with you. It talks about in certain emergency situations, staff may use seclusion techniques to respond to disruptive, aggressive, or violent student behavior where less restrictive interventions are not possible or have failed. Seclusion includes the use of a quiet room to provide an opportunity for a student to regain self-control and composure. So let me mark that. Let me stop here. I do believe we have a quiet room within our ED classroom. However, that is not used. So I just wanted to make sure that, once again, that I inform you of this regulation. So the quiet room log sheet is an attachment within this regulation. It's attachment number 2, and we need to record the student's behavior at 1 minute intervals. That log sheet is immediately submitted to the principal for signature. Parents will also be notified immediately. Now, within this regulation, it also goes into detail in regards to how to report it and how to give notice to these particular interventions that have been in place for a student. So, of course, we do a referral, a ready report for the student, and then contact the parents by phone or electronic communication. So, no, not sending home the referral, not sending an email. Your first immediate contact, our first immediate contact, need to be by phone. So, that is extremely important. There's other considerations that we can put in place as well following an incident or incidents leading to the interventions that I identified earlier. So we talked about creating an FBA, which is a functional behavior assessment, and or the behavior intervention plan. Maybe a student's IEP needs to be reviewed, or maybe their 504 needs to be reviewed. Having a conference with the parents, so the teacher, the parents, the school counselor. And then we can also ask another one of our amazing central office supports to actually be made available, and any resources shared with us as well. With Regulation 542.2-1, this is a sick leave regulation. So I've quoted this regulation, not quoted it, but posted the regulation through our staff handbook as well. But I wanted to make sure that we go ahead and review some highlights from this sick leave regulation. So once again, not once again, but sick leave is accrued each year and credited per pay period. There is no limit on the accumulation of sick leave. We can also donate sick leave if need be. If your sick leave is if you've used up your sick leave, you can actually request for sick leave, but it also talks about how you can donate sick leave to someone else who has exhausted their own sick personal or annual leave balances. And there's an attachment for that as well. Within the 7 pages of this document, it also talks about the use of sick leave, and they define it for you. It says all eligible employees may use sick leave for themselves, for family members, or for a permanent resident of the employee's household. So then they go into a full definition of immediate family members as well, which is pretty cool. Sick leave can also be used for medical. So if you have an illness, injury, if you need to be quarantined or temporary physical or mental incapacity. They also talk about sick leave for when you're pregnant, when you give childbirth, miscarriage, abortion, etc. Also talks about family and parental leave, and then bereavement for the death of an immediate family member or a permanent resident of your household. There are some guidelines that we shall govern when we use our sick leave. So, excuse me, number 2 within this particular guidelines, it says in accordance with the Code of Virginia, section 22.1-301, the manager or the principal has a right to require a physician certification at any time. And also, the employee may be required to submit to their principal or manager a physician certificate or certification for sick leave or anticipated sick leave in excess of 3 days. Also, it says that sick leave must be taken for the purpose for which it is granted per the provisions of this regulation. It cannot be interchanged or substituted for any other type of leave. It continues to go into compensation for sick leave and then reporting sick leave. And the regulation itself within the 7 pages of the document, I do strongly encourage you guys to read through that just to make sure that you are fully have full understanding of exactly what that regulation entails. For Regulation 542.05-1, that is our personal leave regulation. And I just wanted to highlight within this three-page document, Roman numeral 2, and it talks about how leave converts to sick leave. So your personal leave, if you don't use it at the end of the current school year, it doesn't accrue. It actually becomes sick leave. And so any unused days, hours, or minutes shall be converted to sick leave at the beginning of each year of employment. And then Roman numeral 4 states that personal leave may not be requested for the day preceding or following a school division holiday. So that means the holidays that we have Christmas, Thanksgiving, the New Year holiday, we have President's Day, we have spring break, winter break. In exceptional circumstances only, personal leave may be granted to an employee for the day preceding or following a school division holiday at the principal's discretion. So please make sure that you also read through this regulation as well. It is all up to principal discretion. So make sure that when you put in your leave, you understand the difference between the sick and the personal leave. Moving on, I wanted to just talk briefly about the email that I sent to grade level chairs requesting their grade level CSA. So if you've completed, in the email, I specifically shared what particular objective CSA I wanted to have a copy of. Not even a copy, I can have the original, and I'll return it back as soon as possible. If you completed that CSA assessment on the computer, if you can just print out the grade level dashboard, the grade level report, your class report with student names and their percents. So you can do it, each teacher just have that printed off for me and put it in my mailbox. And if you can bring it as a grade level so I can review it as a grade level, I would greatly appreciate that. If the assessment that I documented I wanted to see, if it is on paper, I will need the entire class set of the actual assessment. So if you have 20 kids in your class, I need all 20 assessments so that I can review the student assessments. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email and I will answer it at my earliest convenience. So on Tuesday, the 14th, we had our very first SOL remediation for the 2016-17 school year, and the students were super pumped. The teachers, the instructors were so excited, and we're really, really looking forward to a very successful event under the leadership of Miss Ernie. So I am asking for each teacher, staff member, when you see students, I believe the rosters have been shared with everyone. So if the student is in your classroom or you have interacted with them in the hallway, I just ask that you encourage them to attend the program and to let them know that with their attendance, they are rewarded or awarded, incentives for their attendance. I'm asking for you to encourage their participation by giving reminders every Monday and Tuesday, even Wednesday in the morning and throughout the day so that they can attend on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And our SOL remediation, the power of it is creating those building blocks for learning. And although we look at it as okay, we want to make sure we get these bubble kids to pass the SOL, the way that I look at it is that we are creating lifelong learners. We're building on the foundational skills that they did not have such a steady grasp of. And so I'm very, very excited to see the different grade levels come and support grades 3, 4, and 5. We're using data from the learning continuum, trying to build those skills so that they can maintain and not even have to be in SOL remediation next year. So that might be a lofty goal, but I believe that we can make it happen. We have a couple of dates that we need to remember prior to our March 14th staff meeting. So on Friday, the 17th, we have our second quarter awards assemblies, and I'm really, really excited about them. We have kindergarten and second grade at 9:30 to 10:30, and then we have grades 3 through 5 at 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And those assemblies will be an up to an hour. And I do encourage you to just speak to your students about quality assembly behavior, and then also encourage them to have their parents come out and stay for the entire assembly to encourage all the students receiving awards. Next Monday coming on up, we have a long weekend, and I'm hoping that everyone is able to at least rest a little bit and get some things done that they haven't been able to do. I'm looking forward to washing some clothes and enjoying my son's birthday on Saturday, but actually getting some sleep. So we do not have school on Monday the 20th in recognition of President's Day. On Friday, next Friday, the 24th, we do have our picture day, and I'm asking that everyone wear their Bel Air shirts and jeans because we will be taking a staff picture at 3:30. Excuse me, not 3:30. I'm sorry. We will be taking our staff picture at 8:30 in the morning. Friday, February 24th. On Wednesday, March 1st, we have our PTA meeting at 6 o'clock. Please share any type of imp- input that you may want to share during our PTA with your PTA rep, Miss Roop. We had a very, very successful bingo night on last Friday, and everyone that attended seemed to have had a wonderful, wonderful time. I know that my family did. And then on Friday, March 10th, we have a Relay for Life movie night at 6 o'clock. They also have some amazing meal deals, and I hope to see you all in the place. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 14th. At that time, we will have school-wide ESOL training. I am looking into possibly having a review or an overview, excuse me, of the guided math workshop. Uh, Seminar workshop that was attended by Miss Palmer, Miss Ewing, and Miss Jackson last week. And I really would love to hear from them and try to figure out how we can put some of those things in place. And I'm really, really excited about the information that they have and they will share with us. On the email where this PowerPoint presentations link was, there is a link for Miss Harrington's presentation. The embedded professional development is on the importance of tier one intervention, the importance of it. So we have all of these remediation and enrichment type of things that we're putting in place here at Bel Air. However, we can decrease the number of students needing remediation if we just take a look at and reflect on our tier one instruction. And I'm so excited that we are able to start doing this and really, really building up our expertise as well as educators. So at this time, you can close on out and open up Miss Harrington's PowerPoint. Thank you all, and I appreciate every single moment that you share with our students and the progress that they are making. Excellent job, Bel Air staff.